the Retro Network Podcast.
Kind of like Home Alone mixed with The Hangover.
Pause, timeout. All right, I'm doing the Zach Morris thing.
Yes.
The flagship show for the Retro Network Podcast channel.
We've got some fun stuff in this episode.
Man, that's like listening to classic Guns N' Roses.
Even G.I. Joe fans are like, WTF.
Get ready for the latest pop culture news.
We've got plenty of recurrent events headlines to get to.
Man, can you imagine getting a service that streamed all these old Nickelodeon shows?
Interviews.
Let me just start out by asking you, what was your Batman experience when it first came out?
Yeah, summer of '89, I was very excited. I was a comic book reader.
And topical discussions on all that stuff we grew up with and just can't leave in the past.
There's just so many great memories that I have as a kid, just begging mom to go to the department store.
We were the target audience for Sears catalogs. I remember getting them and mom sitting down at the kitchen table and getting on the telephone and making her orders.
How have you not watched The Matrix?
When I went to the movies, I was trying to go watch a sensitive movie, the ones where you could put your arm around your date.
And now, here are your hosts for the Retro Network Podcast, Jason.
I like to have pictures with my words.
And Mickey.
I ain't farting on no snare drum.
Yes, episode 24 of the Retro Network Podcast. I guess we could call this the Thanksgiving Leftovers edition, right, Mick?
Mm-hmm. There's not many leftovers here at my place.
Oh, really? So you went through that huge meal and dished out the leftovers that quick, huh?
Mm-hmm. They ran out Saturday evening.
Wow. See, I still got a bunch. I've been eating turkey sandwiches since Thursday, so
I only had
still got plenty more.
I only had one turkey sandwich. I mean, we fed a bunch of people, and several of them decided before they left they were going to pack to-go plates for the next day, leaving us really without any to-go plates for the next day.
So you provided 2 meals for them. Wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, that was awful nice of you, and I've never been that bold to take a to-go plate from a family Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, see, I blame it on my wife because she tells people, "Hey, how about you get a plate for tomorrow?" And I'm over going, "Won't you shut up?
Leave some for me." Yeah. Holy cow. Well, how was it? I guess this is getting down to the end of your vacation here. What else did you have going on this weekend? Did you do any shopping?
Let's see, where did I go? I went out yesterday and got a few things. Nothing. Well, I mean, there were some stuff that was on sale for Black Friday, but this was Saturday afternoon that I went, and it was not your traditional Black Friday stuff. I got some new socks like I talked about because they're always cheap for Black Friday.
Uh-huh.
I did pick up, Walmart always runs those super cheap DVDs and Blu-rays. I did pick up several things, and they had the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon series DVDs. Had like 6 episodes each on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 6 different ones for $1.96 a piece. So for $12, I got 36 episodes of the original Mutant Ninja Turtle. And I'm not a big fan of it, but why not have it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. $2. I mean, I've got a few of those DVDs myself. Not the full series, but I try to seek out some of the episodes that I remember and enjoy. But yeah, we went to Target like in the afternoon on Black Friday and actually went to a thrift store Friday and Saturday, did our Black Friday on there. And it's funny, even some of these antique malls and thrift stores around here, they do like Black Friday deals, 20% off, something like that. So something you get for $2, you're getting it for even cheaper.
Yeah, well, not a thrift store, but we've got a very nice antique store here in town, and I was sending you pictures.
Yeah.
I was in there on Saturday, shop local or shop small Saturday, they call it, and they were running a % off sale. And I did buy some cool stuff there. I sent you a picture. I found some Masters of the Universe Viewmaster reels that I got for less than $1 a piece.
Nice.
I got several Dukes of Hazzard Viewmaster reels really cheap. I bought this old cookbook, and I sent you the pictures. Maybe I need to post it on our social page we talked about in the Thanksgiving episode, recipes that shouldn't come back, and it mentioned the creamed onions. Well, this cookbook has the recipe and a picture of the creamed onions that I sent you. So,
and
what else? Oh, I got another DVD at the antique store. You remember seeing on television here a couple years ago, they would do like a whole half-hour infomercial for the Hee Haw collection.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was a 6-disc set I got for less than $3 yesterday.
Oh, man.
So I used to love me some Hee Haw.
Yeah, that was like my dad's favorite show, and I enjoyed it. It was fun too. Back in the day, I haven't watched an episode in years, but
well, there's all kinds of shorts on YouTube, but this is something that, one day when I retire, I'm going to go through all this, and like we're going to talk later in the time machine, I've got a whole section of our DVD shelves set aside just for Christmas stuff, and I'm filling in all the shelves below it with just other retro stuff that one day maybe I'll get a chance to sit down and watch them all. So I put Hee Haw and those turtle cartoons on that shelf. I'll get around to them at some point.
I bought a special edition DVD of Monty Python and the Holy Grail for less than $2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm going through a kick on the newer James Bond movies, so I found I didn't really want to pay full price for Quantum of Solace because it wasn't that great, but I found that for less than $1 DVD copy at the store. And I shared a picture over there on Instagram. I found one of those old McDonald's school pencil boxes, whatever, the Happy Meals came in. And it was $1, and it had a little bit of it was cracked a little bit, but the little closure clip still worked. So I was like, oh, cool. So I'm gonna put all my my Happy Meal toys in that to keep around. And I found a book. It wasn't the one that you have for the McDonald's toys, like the history of. It's a different one, but it went to 90. I think it went to 98, somewhere around in there. So I picked that up for, I think it was $5. That was probably the most, the one item that cost the most that day I was at the thrift store. But so I got a little backstory and all that on the Happy Meal toys and McDonald's as well now. So I was glad to find that. It's funny how we talk about something and then boom, there it is at the thrift store. You know, I tweeted you or sent you a picture of that little Big Mac pullback toy, for a Happy Meal toy that I found. It just stuck out like a sore thumb, man. It's like I would never notice that before, but once we start talking about it, it just sticks out, and you seem to find stuff like that more often.
Yeah,
it's fun. I love thrifting. I love thrifting. It's so much fun.
And my problem is I don't have any thrift stores close to me. I've got that antique store here in town, but the next closest thrift store is a 40-minute drive.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't get the opportunity very often to partake in that.
Yeah. We've got 2 antique malls in town, and then there's, I think, there's 2 Goodwills and another thrift store that I'll hit. And then a town that's about 15 minutes north of us, they've got several thrift stores up there. We'll go up there and hit those every once in a while. So I've got plenty of them around here. I got my selection of thrift stores. It's pretty good. Well, just to kind of put a bow on this, you sent me the Pringles roasted turkey.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that. I guess maybe that was between our last episode and this one that I got them in the mail and tried them. And I don't know, man. Now, when you open it up and you smell it, you can get that smell. But the first thing I'm tasting is like the Pringles flavor. You know what I mean? Just that Pringles kind of taste. And the turkey or the roasted flavor is more of an aftertaste to me. Mm-hmm. So that's, I don't know, maybe I wasn't over the top. I would give it a thumbs up. I wouldn't give it 2, but they were still fun. And I appreciated you sending me those cans. And they are gone. They went really fast. Yeah, so I won't be munching on the podcast today.
Well, I had Tony, our great friend Tony from Retro Days, sent me the elusive Pringles turducken pack. We tried those the other day, and I sent him a message after the fact, and he and I were conversating about the flavors, and the turkey flavor was different than the can of the roasted turkey, and it was okay. The chicken was okay. The duck left something to be desired. I like roasted duck myself, but this didn't really capture it. And when you stack them all 3 together, it just tasted like a salty, smoky taste, which was okay. But the one I was most excited to try was their stuffing flavor chip. Man, was it a disappointment. It
Really?
wasn't that it wasn't good. I really just did not like the flavor of whatever they had. The pumpkin pie chip was okay, but the cranberry sauce chip was phenomenal.
Ooh.
It was like they sprinkled it with cranberry Kool-Aid powder or something. It was good. Nobody else liked it here, so I ate those, and the rest of the family shared the rest of them. They, the wife and the two kids, were both more excited over the meat flavors than the others. But
yeah,
man, that they ought to make a can of the cranberry sauce chips. Holy moly!
Well, that you can appeal to them next Thanksgiving then for the cranberry flavor.
And you're not munching on chips, but I'm drinking on a little Christmassy something we found that's already out. This year's Mountain Dew Merry Mashup flavor.
Ooh, have not tried that yet.
It's not, to me now, it's not as tasty as some of their previous Christmas efforts. This one is a cranberry pomegranate flavor with other natural flavors, and it's mixed with Mountain Dew. It's okay. It's Christmassy. It's nice and red, so it's Christmassy. But the one they started with several years ago, all it ended up being was a 50-50 mix of Mountain Dew and Mountain Dew Code Red. That's the best one. Yeah, that's the best one they've done yet.
Oh,
I'm not a Mountain Dew Code Red fan, but you mix it with regular
either.
Mountain Dew, and it had this nice light red color to it. It was really good. I drank a lot of it back then.
I've tried just this season the winter spiced cranberry Sprite and also the cinnamon Coke. Have you tried those yet?
No, I've got the Sprite here. I've got a 6-pack of it. We're holding on till closer to Christmas to try it. But the little 6-packs of the cinnamon Coke have been sold out everywhere, and I'm just a little skittish on buying an entire 12-pack.
Well, we got the little cans, 6-pack cans at our local Aldi. They had both of them, and the Sprite went quick, and I bought a couple 6-packs of those. I know everybody would have loved that. And I was a little hesitant on the cinnamon Coke because when Pepsi did that, I think it was called Pepsi Fire. Maybe it was earlier this summer when they did that, or maybe it was last year. Did not like it. It was just too over the top, and it just kind of negated the Pepsi flavor. And I didn't try it. I just kind of passed on that. Let's get Sprite this time. We got another thing of Sprite, and finally I went back and got a 6-pack of Coke. Oh, let's try it now because nobody was buying it. And everybody must have had the same revelation at the same time because I got it home. Oh my gosh, it was great. And it's not too overpowering, and it works really well, I think, with the Coke kind of aftertaste more than Pepsi because Coke is a lot less sweeter, and that cinnamon flavor, adds to that. So I went back and it was gone. So haven't got a chance to go back and get some more of that. But me being the Pepsi fan, it's weird me recommending cinnamon Coke, but it was really good.
Well,
really
enjoyed that. I've been looking for those short cans too, the 6-pack, because I just don't want to pull the trigger on a 12-pack, not knowing if we're going to like it. I did that when earlier this year they released that orange cream Coca-Cola.
Orange vanilla, yeah.
Yeah, we all hated it here. We gave away most of that 12-pack. And I just didn't want to be in the same position again. But I don't know. Have you seen it in like 20-ounce bottles anywhere?
They do. I have seen it, and yeah, just like the regular refrigerated case at like Walmart. When you're at the checkout line, I've seen it there.
I might have to check my local convenience store and see. Maybe I'll try it that way.
It was good stuff, man. Well, let's keep moving along with the podcast. Just one little announcement here. Today, as you're listening to this on Tuesday, is the final day to enter our ugly Christmas sweater giveaway. We've had a pretty overwhelming response this time. We appreciate everybody going out there and entering and connecting with social media, and we're trying to build that network there, so that really helps us out. But can't wait to give that away tomorrow. So make sure you get your entries in. As I've mentioned before, 12 entries you can gain right now. If you head over there to the website and in the right column, just click on the giveaway and go right there, and you'll be entered and maybe get a chance here to sneak in right at the end and steal it. So, and I'm anxious. Our work Christmas party is, I think, next Friday. So I get to show off. I got this wonderful cardigan that's stormtroopers all over it. It's great. I can't wait to show that off. Yeah, I told my coworker, we share an office together, one of the other managers there, and she tells me, I've got a Stranger Things ugly sweater. I was like, no!
Oh, man, she just trumped you.
You can't show me up. Yeah, you can't show me up, man, because this thing is too awesome. But I'm just I'll be okay. Maybe I'll find like a Stormtrooper mask I can wear with it, you know?
Well, you could one-up her. I sent you that picture on Slack of the other Christmas sweater I found.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's got Eddie's RV on it, and all it says is "shit's full." That you could show her up with that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wear that Stormtrooper one we got from fun.com. I mean, that was really great.
Yeah, I've got to bust mine out and do something with it here. I've got the leg lamp from A Christmas Story, ugly Christmas sweater, so I'm going to do something with it.
It's going to be great. I love this time of year. And speaking of which, coming up in the time machine, we're going to talk about our top 10 Christmas movies over the years. So this is not based on any particular decade. It's just our personal top 10 Christmas movies. So this should be really fun. And I'm anxious to see. I think our lists are going to mirror a little bit more than they have in the past when we've used Flick Chart.
I'm going to go the opposite. I think there's going to be more separation here than you're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say we have 5 of the same.
Okay.
And I'd say the other half of each of our lists are different. Just at a guess.
I've got a couple obscure ones, so yeah, I will. I'll go with that, half and half. But we shall see. So stick around for that coming up in the TRN Time Machine. But first, let's get on to our recurrent events for the week. Our recurrent events is sponsored by fun.com this week. Black Friday and Cyber Monday might be over, but you can still save 15% with our promo link through December 31st. And that includes all their ugly sweaters and clothing, toys, and collectibles. There are a few restrictions, so just make sure you check that out. But that 15% discount is in your cart already when you just click over on that link. And I believe, Mick, any banner you click that has those ugly sweaters on the website uses that promo code.
It does.
So there you go. Just head on over to the Retro Network, click on wherever you want, and I'll also put it in the show notes for you as well. So you can save 15% as you're doing your Christmas shopping, even after these huge days. So please take advantage of that if you can. And getting into this week's headlines, Mick, I'm leading off with this one because I did see a couple tweets go back and forth on Twitter about people liking this, people not liking this. I think it was during the Thanksgiving football games, this Xfinity commercial debuted, which reunites E.T. with Elliott. It's almost like a sequel to the movie. What did you think of this?
I had never watched it yet. I never was an E.T. fan, so it didn't catch my interest. I just see it and scroll right on past it myself.
Okay.
I mean, really.
I thought it was a pretty big deal. Pretty much opened up my RSS reader, and every site that I follow had some kind of post about it. ET sequel, ET.
Yeah, and scrolling through the Twitter feed and stuff, and on Facebook, it's like every fourth post there was something about it.
Yeah.
And, last week it was Baby Yoda, and this week it's ET, and I can take or leave both of them. So I'm just like, would you get this stuff? Let's get on to something important. You know?
Well, I had several people tag me on Facebook, have you seen this yet? Have you seen this? And the major thing about it that I saw that was kind of negative was why, how have we come to this? They're not necessarily ruining my childhood, but they're misusing or leading us into an advertisement, essentially giving us in the commercial. It's E.T. comes back and Elliott is older and has kids, and they introduce E.T. to all of them and like the technology of the day, and they send him back off, and he actually, Elliott's kids are the ones that are on the bikes now and riding with E.T. into the moon. So it was very heartwarming. If you, enjoyed the movie, that commercial was just great to me. And being a 5-minute advertisement, I really didn't care. I mean, how many different rebooted movies and TV series and everything just fall short of all expectations. And if you're going to give me something that's 5 minutes, I don't care if it's an ad or not. If you're going to give me something that's 5 minutes and just hit all the buttons that I want to hit, if there was ever an ET sequel, you have at it. I'd prefer that, than giving me 90 minutes of just whatever to get to those few moments that you want.
Yeah, stuff like that's the price we pay for Cobra Kai being so good.
Right.
For people who are upset, oh, you're ruining their childhood or whatever, I don't see you saying that when you watch the new episode of Cobra Kai. So you can't straddle the fence on it.
Yeah.
Who knows? And the success of Cobra Kai may lead to more than just advertisements for some of these old properties again.
Right. And it's just, I don't know. People say this is what's wrong with the internet. Well, I don't know. I prefer getting a little snippet of something that's great rather than getting 90 minutes of something that's crap. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Here's another headline for you. We had talked about The Fugitive just, I think, maybe a couple episodes ago. Rebooting the movie now at Warner Brothers. There is already a reboot series in the works at this Quibi service, which is coming up next year. And it's more of like a modern telling of the story. I was reading a little bit of the synopsis there, but this is basically a reimagining of the 1993 movie. And it's going to be directed by Albert Hughes, who has done The Book of Eli, From Hell, Dead Presidents, Menace to Society. I've seen Book of Eli. The other ones I don't think I have. But anyway, it's kind of odd choice. But I don't know. What do you think? Should they? Is this something that we need?
Well, one, we don't need it because Harrison Ford just knocked it out of the park the first time. And I don't think you can get much better than that. But two, this movie does not work these days. With forensic science the way it is now, 24 hours after they arrested him, they turn him loose. Like, oh, yep, wasn't you? We've got all these different fibers and such. So
that's true.
Yeah. And also tracking him down in this day and age would be much easier with facial recognition cameras everywhere. I think it's a hard movie to make today. It's just a hard story to tell.
Well, and the other thing, you're not only trying to replace Harrison Ford as an actor, as a really great lead, but you're also trying to replace an equal person like Tommy Lee Jones to come after him. Yeah. So it's going to be really difficult. And I think
here's an idea. Just make a third one. It's, we had U.S. Marshals. Make a third one. Tommy Lee Jones is aging, and you could work in as a little sidebar to that story as he's having to rely on somebody else to use the modern technology because he can't fiddle with a cell phone, and you could.
That might work, yeah.
But it's his guts and intuition that trumps all technology. That's a good hook for a movie. I don't think we need to remake it. I mean, I am interested in the Quibi series though, because I like the idea of Quibi, the short, 5, 7, 10, 15-minute episode things. I think The Fugitive could work really well as a series. Of course, it did once upon a time before the movie came out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works so well in that short of an episode, but a really well done Fugitive Netflix or Hulu series, I think would be fascinating because you could stretch it out for quite a while.
Yeah. And that's where I'm a little fuzzy on Quibi. And how are you? I mean, that whole series, I think it said that it was centered around some kind of train bombing or something. And assuming they are blaming the wrong guy or whatever. But at 5 or 7 minutes, wow. I mean, you're just basically giving them a teaser. It's like a teaser for, the next episode or something. I don't know. It just seems that concept, I understand it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Is that going to be too short to do like they're calling it like a 2-hour movie chopped up into whatever 10-minute segments. So I don't know. You're
looking at it from our perspective. We don't have that short of an attention span like their target audience does. I can tell you now, my oldest daughter would love, and I think she's going to want Quibi if there's stuff on there she wants to watch. She would love that 10-minute episode stuff because she could sit down in an hour and bang out an episode of 6 different shows and then go on with her day.
Yeah.
Versus me and you sitting around watching an hour of The Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno, and we've watched one show, and it's not been that great.
Yeah, they need to break up the which was the one? Was it an episode with Thor, or was that centered around a movie? I can't remember.
That was a movie.
Was it? Yeah.
The Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
That's right.
Had
Give us that
Daredevil.
broken up. Yeah. Oh, gosh. All right, moving along. One more item here in movies. Read a story this week that Danny DeVito wants to make another Matilda and even has an idea for the sequel. He says, quote, I always wanted to do Matilda 2 when the kid was still a kid. And this is to comicbook.com. But that was like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Maybe Matilda has a kid and we can do something with that. I don't know. If that idea doesn't pan out, maybe we can see what Bruce Bogtrotter is up to. Did he lose the weight, gain weight? Does the sight of chocolate cake fill him with murderous rage? It's the gritty Matilda sequel we demand, unquote. Have you ever watched Matilda?
Not once. Nope.
Not once. I watched it way back in the day, but probably just that one time. It was a rental or something, so I don't really have an attachment to the movie. But I did have to look up that scene with him eating the cake. It basically, for punishment, I guess he got caught stealing cake or something. For punishment, the schoolmaster or whatever makes him eat an entire chocolate cake in front of the whole school. And that by the end of the scene, they're all like cheering him on, you know. He cleans the plate. It's great.
Don't sound quite as iconic as Cool Hand Luke eating 50 eggs.
No. Anyway, I thought that was a fun little idea there from Danny DeVito. Let's go on to some food. We already talked some food already, but found a few more headlines for us. Lay's Cheddar Bacon Mac and Cheese flavored chips are coming back for a limited time, exclusively at Sam's Club. And it was basically, this was a re-release from chips that they did back in 2014 with those crazy flavors they asked for, you know, we get each time. I don't remember this particular flavor, but it sounds really good.
I don't remember it either. I'm going to keep my eye out for it because I found the bag 2 weeks ago. Grilled cheese and tomato soup.
I have seen those.
Those were delicious.
Were they? Yeah.
So
they're kind of hit or miss. They've been kind of hit or miss with me, those Lay's flavors. Some of them are really good, and then some of them are just like, ugh, no.
Well, I really like most of them that I've tried. The fried green tomatoes was good, and several other their flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big fan.
Here's another food headline. I've never heard of this company, Boston Pizza. I don't, might be up north, and even this story is tied to stores in Canada, so it doesn't really apply. But they're coming up with a new Christmas pizza topped with turkey and stuffing, seasoned rotisserie turkey, house-made stuffing, rosemary sage cream sauce, and Italian cheeses. And then they give you a side of cranberry sauce and gravy and a dessert in the form of a Toblerone chocolate bar.
Ooh. Now,
how does that sound? That sounds like a full feast right there in one meal.
I think it sounds great, other than the sage cream sauce. I mean, I like sage and rosemary, but I'm not a big cream sauce on my pizza guy. I take regular pizza sauce. I wouldn't care. But yeah, it sounds good, but I wonder about the timing of it. How many people are kind of sick to death right now of turkey and stuffing and stuff?
Yeah, I was thinking it should have did ham or whatever, something more for Christmas. But I don't know, people still make turkeys for Christmas.
Yeah, they do. We do a turkey breast, so to go along with the ham and the sausage balls and the meatloaf.
We do a white sauce sometimes on the pizza. We usually get it with the Philly steak and peppers and onions. It works pretty well.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But I'm like you. I'm just give me the traditional sauce. Don't worry about that. And then, are you a fan of milkshakes?
I am one of the world's leading authorities on milkshakes.
Well, Chick-fil-A is bringing back the Peppermint Chocolate Chip shake, and at Krystal, they're bringing back the Eggnog milkshake.
That Eggnog milkshake is a top 5 milkshake every year. That one at Krystal. It's just like a thicker, creamier, colder eggnog. It's really good.
Didn't they used to do that at McDonald's?
I
was thinking McDonald's had an eggnog shake.
Not
back
that I
then.
remember. The Peppermint Chocolate Chip milkshake, I'm not a huge peppermint fan, so I'm not going to rate it because it may be great for what it is, but I just don't personally like what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Chick-fil-A, it's not on here. In the summertime, when they do that banana pudding milkshake, that is the highlight of summer milkshakes anywhere.
I go for the peach one. When they bring the peach one back, yeah, I will seek out a Chick-fil-A for the peach milkshake. I'd like a good milkshake once in a while.
Oh, I love a good milkshake every day if I could get one.
All right, well, moving along to streaming and TV, America's Funniest Home Videos is turning 30, and they're bringing back the former hosts, Bob Saget and Tom Bergeron, for a special that's going to debut December 8th. This is after their normal episode on Sunday. It's going to be called America, This Is You. It's going to feature interviews of past contestants, and they're going to dive into the show's history and all the effect on pop culture. And you'll get to see some of those classic clips from the previous shows through the 30 years. But I'm looking forward to this, man, because I'm a big fan of Tom Bergeron. I always thought I watched it back in the day when Bob Saget was there, but I think Tom Bergeron was my favorite host.
I don't know that I've ever seen a Tom Bergeron episode.
Really?
Yeah. I just, once I got the internet, I didn't need the show anymore. So I just quit watching
It's true. It's true.
So, people like you and I would probably watch this particular thing, but I got to imagine their normal demographic for the weekly show is 50 and above, maybe skewing a little older than that, because really with YouTube, what is America's Funniest Home Videos? You know what I mean? For like my kids, they're not going to sit and watch it on a network schedule. They'll pull up YouTube fails any time of the day they want to, and they're good. Yeah. So it's hard to believe it's lasted 30 years in this modern era.
Well, and I think it's easier to record now with your phone. I mean, probably, I don't know where the time frame switched from being able to have quality cell phone videos to put out there, but I've submitted one last year myself. Really? Yes. It was around Christmas time. All right. So
does it still exist?
It exists. It's never aired, but basically the video was my little girl is in the bathtub and she was screaming. It was like the death metal version of "Oh Christmas Tree." And it's, "Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas." That's all she was saying. She didn't know any other words or anything. And I could hear her. So I just started the video and I walked back the hallway and I just peeked around the corner to get her face. And she's laying back in the water screaming, "Oh Christmas tree," to the top of her lungs. And then she sees me and she kind of stops and then she kind of slinks down into the water. I thought it was perfect. That was the first time I ever did that, but it was relatively easy. You just go to the site, upload it, and sign about 12 different waivers, and see if they take it. But I don't know. I think that's the ease of it nowadays. You just pick it up. You can find something funny and throw it up there. I don't know. We've sought out the show for many, many, many years just for her and the boys too. When they were younger, they loved just watching funny videos. So, all right. Well, moving along, we talked about Quibi a little bit, and I finally did a little bit of research on it because I know we've mentioned it before, and I was like, what is Quibi? It sounds like it's going to be launching next spring. It's going to be $5 a month with ads, $8 a month ad-free. And it's exclusively for mobile phones. So you're not going to find the app, I guess, on Roku or any of your streaming or smart TVs, anything like that. It's just mainly based on your phone. So that's why these 7 to 10 minute episodes, I guess, is going to cater towards that because I don't know. I can't sit down and watch a movie on my phone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too damn old and my eyes can't take it. But just staring at a small screen like that, I want it on the big screen. Mm-hmm. So, like you said, they're catering to that younger audience who has always had a phone in their hands since they were 1 year old.
One of the selling points I was reading, they were talking about going in depth on for their target audiences. again, I'm certainly not in their market. You are a little more in their market with where you live, but imagine folks in New York who commute all the time. That's who it's designed for. They've got their phone with them. They can watch 7-10-minute episodes, whatever. Maybe they've got a 30-minute ride and they can bang out 3 episodes of something and they're at work and ready to go. And, we're not their target audience. I'm certainly not, but with their age and their attention span, and me with my commute is, a drive. I'm not riding a bus or a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft or any of them other things that they've got.
I understand. Well, we're going to keep an eye on that, and I have seen a few of the shows they got in the works.
I don't know why they wouldn't make it available on all platforms, though. It's hard to tell. Like, there may be shows on there I would want to sit down one afternoon and stream, multiple episodes of, but I'm not going to sit and do it on my phone. So
yeah, you're kind of limiting yourself there, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. One last note here. In the world of streaming, CBS All Access is starting to roll out their kids content, and it has already set premiere plans for some Nickelodeon shows, new and old. As far as I've read, I haven't got a real a list of the what all is going to be included in the Nickelodeon shows, except for the like modern shows. But this does include the new and original Danger Mouse, Inspector Gadget, Heathcliff, Sonic, The Adventures of the Super Mario Brothers, Archie's Weird Mysteries, and Polly Pocket. So they're going back a little bit, and that just kind of caught my eye. CBS is trying to beef up, their streaming service, and those Star Trek shows I know are pretty popular, and a lot of people subscribe to that just to get those Star Trek, the newer Star Trek shows. And I just saw that they are doing like mini episodes as well. Releasing to the app.
I haven't watched any of those yet. We've got CBS All Access because most of the shows the wife likes to watch, that's their CBS shows. And so we usually keep that service 6 months out of the year so she can watch all the new stuff. I have seen on there those short episodes, and I clicked on it. I didn't watch any, but I was just browsing through them, and they're all like, some of them are anywhere from 7 minutes up to about 14, I think was the longest one. And they're just little one-shot stories. And if they're building a new Star Trek universe like they are with that new series, it's a great idea that you can flesh out characters a little bit in these little one-shot short episodes. So it's really nice. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I'm not big into Star Trek, but it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I saw that too. They're just kind of taking one character and building that backstory. And it's almost mirrored to what Star Wars is doing with The Mandalorian. You're taking a character and you're in that universe and building out from there. So yeah, great idea.
And my youngest, she's a huge fan of the show Riverdale. So she's excited about these Archie's Weird Mysteries cartoon coming to CBS.
Well, you'll have to keep us informed on that since you're a subscriber, and let us know if you can find some good retro stuff on there too.
Well, there is some good retro stuff on there. They have several little TV series, and they've started adding movies. So
nice.
It's a nice, well-rounded streaming channel, actually.
Cool.
I wonder if some of the old shows I've seen on there. Wings is on there. Magnum P.I., stuff like the A-Team. I think the A-Team's not on there anymore. But anyway, you get the gist there. They're a nice selection. There for a while, I think they're gone now, too. They had all 3 Karate Kid movies, among other, from their 80s movie selections.
Well, I'm going to add them in the mix. We're going to talk retro streaming next week with our guide, and I'm going to throw CBS All Access in there too as we talk about the premium services, because I'm going to include Disney Plus now that's God, it seems like they're adding like 1 million subscribers a day or something from what I've read. It's really blown up. But yeah, we'll include that with the major services now going forward. So stay tuned next week, and you'll get that complete retro streaming guide for December and what's all coming to these different streaming services. Just a reminder, you can find all these links and more in the Recurrent Events story on the Retro Network website. So check that out. I'm going to release that here once Mick and I get off the air recording here on Sunday. So check that out. And if you need to link to any of those stories that we talked about, you can find it there. And we're going to have some more stuff. But coming up, it's finally time. We're going to the time machine. Christmas is here, man. And I started watching the specials last night. It won't be very long before we're getting into these movies. So anxious to hear what your favorites are, and we're going to tap into that here in just a minute, so stick around.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Christmas is just about my favorite time.
It's Christmas, Theo. It's the time of miracles, so be of good cheer.
This is Christmas, the season of perpetual hope.
And we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye.
What do you want for Christmas, Peter?
A machine gun.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
I feel it in my fingers.
Best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
Christmas is all around me, and so the feeling grows.
Look at this! There's a rule! I have to kiss this girl on the lips!
It's written in the wind, so where I go.
All I want for Christmas is you.
So if you really love Christmas, come
We got
on,
money.
let it snow.
And what did Santa bring you, honey?
I've got presents. Last year I got a sweater with a big bird knitted on it.
What are you wearing?
Oh, Mum made it. You can get beat up for wearing something like that.
I heard on the news that an airline pilot spotted Santa's sled on his way in from New York.
Oh my God! I know him!
I saw you at another mall.
Oh!
You are really Santa, right?
No, I'm an accountant. I wear this thing as a fashion statement.
A lot of people down south don't believe in Santa Claus.
That's ridiculous.
Would you please tell her that you're not really Santa Claus?
But not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it. What is your name? Kris Kringle.
Name?
Père Noël. Babo Natali. Pères Nicole. Papa Gijo.
Your Honor, the state of New York concedes the existence of Santa Claus.
How can one sleigh carry all the toys for all the kids every place?
Because it's a magic sleigh. Do you believe in magic, Abby?
Christmas spirit is about believing, not seeing.
I believe. Seeing isn't believing. Believing is seeing.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
What day is it?
What day? What's Christmas Day, Coaster?
Christmas Day. I haven't missed it.
Next year all our troubles will be out of sight.
I love you too.
Christmas is such a wonderful, beautiful time. It's a time for giving and being thankful for friends and family.
That isn't about the gifts or the contests or the fancy lights.
It means something different to everybody.
It's the one night of the year when we all act a little nicer, we smile a little easier, we share a little more. For a couple of hours out of the whole year, we are the people that we always hoped we would be. It's a miracle.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Did I forget something, big man?
God bless us.
Everyone.
We've had another very successful year. So, after all that hard work, it's time to start preparations for next Christmas.
Welcome back inside the time machine on the Retro Network podcast, sponsored by Retro Days this week. and just reached out to Tony Mick and said that the RD's detention on Captain N is coming pretty soon. He even said maybe this week. So with the holidays, and I guess he was under the weather a little bit, he's got kind of behind on getting that episode done, but that should be coming soon. And he gave me a little insight. They are doing a laser tag, and I don't know if this is the same episode or like two separate ones, but a laser tag and a Christmas themed episode of RD's detention. So can't wait for that, man.
They just keep pumping out the good stuff, don't they?
They do. And I saw some still shots from the Captain N episode. I don't know if it was because I know Adam dressed as Captain N for Halloween this year, but it might have been those. But I thought there were some other shots that he posted up there on Twitter to tease us. But be looking out for that, man. That's a really fun. If you have not subscribed to the Retro Days YouTube channel, please do that and start checking out those episodes because they're great. All right, our topic this week, top 10 Christmas movies. Now, we're going to, a little footnote here, we're just doing movies. We're not doing specials or TV episodes because we plan to cover those at another time. So just feature-length movies with this one. And we'll cover, Charlie Brown and the usual Christmas specials that we go through each year as a separate list. But when do you start watching your Christmas? Some people I know start like at November 1st, soon as Halloween's over. But do you try to get a little separation in there with Thanksgiving and maybe start after Thanksgiving, or do you watch a couple maybe before even Thanksgiving hits?
I try to wait until Thanksgiving's over. But I have enough stuff on my watch list every year between movie specials and TV shows that I could start November 1st.
Right.
But so I some years I have to rotate it in and out. Like, last year I may have had to skip such and such. So I'm watching it this year and I'll have to abandon something else for a year because my schedule don't leave me a whole lot of time for watching. But my gosh, I hate to not watch any of this because it all has nostalgia attached to it for me. And I just hate missing watching any of it, though.
There's a few that are more just, let's put it on and it's in the background while we're doing something else. And I can kind of handle those movies that way versus I want to watch every single minute of some of these movies that we're going to be talking about because they're just great year after year. And I try to wait. I'm more of a, let's put up this Christmas tree on Black Friday, or we have put it up on Thanksgiving Day before, like later in the night after all the crazies are out shopping now. We'll do the Christmas tree then if we're not going to a movie or something. But I usually try to wait till at least Friday or Saturday to start getting the Christmas stuff out, and that usually means starting out the specials and everything. So yeah, I like a little separation there myself. So do you? And just talking about your list here that we've made for this show. Have you included any movies in there? I'm going to open up a huge can of worms. I don't care. Are you going to include any movies that are set at Christmas, like that Die Hard movie?
Well, let's see here. Well, of course, they're all set at Christmas, but all of my movies, Christmas is the main theme.
That's okay. That's what I'm getting at. Where Christmas
it's not
is
a background accessory; it is the main theme.
Right. And I said before, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I probably would not debate that. Let people have their fun. If they want to go through a whole action movie sequence, they could put Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and probably a whole night of movies, a weekend of movies together that are set at Christmas, but have a different plot or story,
Well, here's a unique perspective. If you're going to eliminate Die Hard as a Christmas movie, it's an action movie that's set at Christmas, right?
Yes.
Then I have read a take it's gaining popularity, then you have to exclude Home Alone as a Christmas movie because it is a home invasion movie that is set at Christmas. And there's some merit to that line of thought, actually.
It's true.
So,
I guess you could.
Do you think Gremlins is a Christmas movie?
See, there's a couple scenes at Christmas, and I guess it's Christmas time, but I wouldn't consider it a Christmas movie.
Yeah, because the little Mogwai was a Christmas present, and see, I think some of those you get it's a little gray area. And as much as I'm against the whole Die Hard as a Christmas movie thing, I think I'm willing to put it in the gray area. I'm not going all the way with it, but
yeah,
I can listen to people's arguments anyway now.
Yeah. Well, still, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not here to debate it or just put it in the ground, but the traditional movies are the ones that I typically go for, where there's a Santa Claus in there. And I guess you're right. Home Alone is, it's probably gray. Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, let's get to our list. And, we talked last week about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and doing a holiday movie list. I can safely say it would make my top 10. Because I had my number 10 slot here. I was waffling back and forth between a few movies, and then I thought of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I thought, yeah, that would be my number 10 if we're doing a holiday list.
Well, it would be in my top 10 too, and it would easily, you just swap the mentions of Thanksgiving for mentions of Christmas, and it's instantly a Christmas movie. You've already got the snow and everything. Mm-hmm. My gosh, it would be one of the iconic Christmas movies if it was centered around Christmas instead of Thanksgiving.
I agree. All right, number 10 for me. It's on every year on NBC, and it's not one that I typically seek out. It's more my wife will seek it out, and we'll have it on Christmas Eve. It's a Wonderful Life. It's my number 10. Might be surprised that it's that low on the list, but it wasn't really my era. And some of these, well, most of these are more when I was a kid or teenage years that I've prefer versus It's a Wonderful Life. But it's still a great movie, a great story, and just classic. And the fact that it's between that and The Wizard of Oz, I think, are the appointment television movies that are left, because they show Wizard of Oz each year now on Thanksgiving on the Turner station. Yeah, they still have kept that going. So between that and It's a Wonderful Life, I think it's one of the last movies that's event television each year. You'll probably have another one, though, add to your list here towards the top. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on It's a Wonderful Life?
Well, I'll cover them when I get to it on my list. It's higher on my list than it is yours. So.
Okay. What's number 10 for you?
Number 10 for me is the only modern movie on my list from 2016, Office Christmas Party. Have you seen that with Jason Bateman?
Have not.
It's got Jennifer Aniston and a couple other folks you'll recognize in it. But this guy runs a company. His father's dead, and he wants to throw a office Christmas party, and his sister, Jennifer Aniston, is kind of the CFO of the company, says they can't afford it. She's closing her brother's branch of the company. So he decides, well, screw it then. I'm certainly going to throw a big office Christmas party. And it's the biggest blowout Christmas party at an office you'll ever see. And it's just funny from beginning to end. It's like The Hangover at Christmas or Home Alone on steroids. It was a lot of fun. I watched it. I guess I watched it the year it came out. It caught my interest, and I found it after it came on Amazon, and I watched it. And now it's a yearly tradition, but it's not one you watch with the kids. It's got some strong language in it. It's more of an adult movie, but it's really funny, and it's really Christmassy, and it's got a good story at the end as far as Christmas, so I'm a big fan of it. But that's the only modern movie on my list.
Okay. I've got one that's, I guess you would probably call modern on my list. But yeah, I'll have to check that one out, because I will try a movie out like that when the kids are in bed. Even some of these ones on my list are a little eye-opening if you're trying to watch in front of the kids. But there is a place for that, and a lot of people, I know there's several movies like that out there. Bad Santa comes to mind. I don't know if that made your list or not, but
no, it didn't.
Just those kind of type of Christmas movies, kind of the anti-Hallmark,
Yeah.
All right, number 9 for me, 1994, the original The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Yes. I did not get onto this one until probably later, probably in the early 2000s is when I really got into that one, and it's a favorite of my sister-in-law when she always visits over the holidays. She brings them all. I've watched the second one. I have not watched the third one. Didn't really care for the second one, but the first one is great. A lot of great lines in there, and it's classic Tim the Tool Man, era, and it's just such a fun movie.
Well, people are going to be disappointed in the fact that I tried watching the first one and just did not like it. So it's not on my list. And I don't remember if it was the second or third one. When it came out, we went to the theater to watch it. The wife drugged me, and I just was not excited.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there and seen that Jackass, the movie, was playing at the same time in a different theater. So she went and watched her and the youngin went and watched that, and I went and watched by myself Jackass the movie. And I'm not sorry, because Jackass the movie was great, and I really don't think I would have liked that Santa Claus movie.
Oh, there's a Christmas tradition for you. Watch Jackass.
Yeah,
I've never seen it. Never got into the show, so Santa Claus is definitely a higher on my list than Jackass as far as movies. But that's a great story.
Well, next on my list is something that possibly, we don't know this, we can't confirm it or deny it, that may have possibly inspired Johnny Knoxville. And I'm talking about Ernest Saves Christmas. Because the stuff Ernest put himself through in his movies could have possibly motivated some of these guys to do Jackass.
That's true. That's true.
Ernest Saves Christmas is one of the movies I actually got to go to the theater and watch as a kid.
Oh, you didn't? Awesome.
I did. Because we were a big fan of Ernest Goes to Camp. So when Ernest Saves Christmas come out, my mom took my brother and I to the little local theater to watch Ernest Saves Christmas. And I loved it. It was the full experience. You know, we got popcorn and drinks. And when it came out on VHS, no. We didn't buy the VHS. We actually recorded it off maybe HBO or something it was on.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have our original recording of that on VHS here.
Nice.
The Ernest movies catch a lot of flack. You know, we've talked about the Ernest movies before on here, but Jim Varney was a classically trained actor, and he could come across as a buffoon and stuff, but that was all acting, and that's just how good of an actor he was, because he was a highly intelligent man. But to come across like he did just shows how good he was. And the story of Santa Claus is going to retire, and he's looking for a replacement, and Santa Claus is trying to help him. It's just a fun story. It's a really fun story.
It is. I'll talk
I know
about
you're
it.
a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll talk about it more when it comes up on my list, but,
okay.
Love Ernest. And I got to see Ernest Goes to Camp in the theater. So it was big. I remember renting Ernest Goes to Jail and just a lot of those movies. And then when Christmas came out, oh my gosh. Yes.
I missed the camp movie in the theater, but I seen Saves Christmas, Goes to Jail, and Ernest Scared Stupid all in the theater. We was big fans of Ernest back in the day. Of course, the Ernest Goes to Jail. No, never mind. Different story. But I'll tell that story here shortly. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Moving along, number 8 for me, The Muppets Christmas Carol. I have to watch this one each year, and it's probably my favorite telling of the Christmas Carol. I remember watching this one early on. It was probably a rental, or maybe saw it on television or something. But just the Muppets. I love Gonzo was always one of my favorites. So him as the narrator or the Charles Dickens character telling the story was great, and Michael Caine as Scrooge. And there's a lot of great songs. I'm not huge into musicals, but I love all the songs and everything that go along with this movie. The Statler and Waldorf as Marley and Marley, and I love The Muppets Christmas Carol.
I've never watched it, and you and I have talked about that, and it's actually on my list to watch this year, and I had looked it up. It is available to rent on Amazon Prime, so for $3, I'll get to sit and watch it this year at some point.
Well, you are planning to get Disney Plus, aren't you?
I am planning to. Is it on there?
It is.
Oh, well.
Disney owns the Muppets, so all the Muppet stuff is on there, man.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make it easy then. I still haven't signed up for that. They were not running a Black Friday special. So, not for the bundle or anything.
You can get Hulu for $2 a month, but I don't think it's included in the bundle.
Right.
Yeah.
But speaking of A Christmas Carol, this did not make my list. It was my first honorable mention, and that is A Christmas Carol, the 1984 George C. Scott version of the movie. Mm-hmm. It's just right outside of my top 10. That's a really well done version of it.
I have seen that. That was a good version. I think it was that made for TV? I don't think it was a feature release.
No, I think you're right. I think it was made for TV. I've got the DVD of it. I bought it last year. I ordered it and it came in and we watched it. So I'll have it. It's probably one like I was mentioning earlier, some I have to skip. I'll probably skip it this year and put it back in the rotation next year because I'm working in like Muppets Christmas Carol this year. So something's got to give for a year or so.
That's right. Yeah.
What we've done in the past, now we've not done it in a couple of years. Christmas in July is a big thing a lot of places. The wife had this idea for anything we have to skip at Christmas, let's watch in July. And then I was like, well, then we're stuck on that pattern. We're going to watch these movies in July every year. And, because you got room for everything then. You just keep the same 2 sets. But let's see. What's next on my list? Oh, The Homecoming, A Christmas Story, 1971. It was the introduction to the Waltons.
Okay.
The Waltons hadn't been a series. Actually, the series was conceived and picked up because of the success of the movie. Have you ever seen that one?
It's probably been years on cable or something like that when it was on, when we had cable. I've sat through it, but it's been many, many years.
I watched it for the first time as a kid and I couldn't appreciate it. And then about 10 years ago, I come across it and watched it and fell in love with it because it's such a great, heartwarming tale. Now, of course, I didn't grow up in the Depression, but I grew up here in the Appalachian Mountains and the region is the same. Matter of fact, Walton Mountain was in Virginia on the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But much like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it's the story of the dad. He works because it's the Depression. He can only get a job. It's away from home, and he has to go through all this trouble to get home. And that's every week. He'll leave on Sunday. He'll come home on Friday afternoon, and he's having trouble with the storm and stuff. And you don't see him till the end. You're just hearing about the troubles. But it's the family getting ready for Dad coming home for Christmas, and it's Christmas Eve, and the cooking and having to go kill a turkey and cut down a Christmas tree, just like things used to be. And it's a great look at that era and time frame. And it's hard for people to watch that movie and not feel that Christmas spirit a little bit when they're done.
Yeah, that's going to be something. Is that maybe available on YouTube or somewhere?
It certainly is. The whole movie
is it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to just put that on one time and because I love going back to that era, and even the Charlie Brown era is so much different. But from that perspective of, that time and just the little that they had and getting home, it's probably like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, just without the planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, and you don't see much of his struggle coming home, but they're speculating on it. Maybe he was having trouble getting a ride from the bus station, to here. It's 31 miles from there to here, and he's got to try to find a ride, or he'll be walking the whole way. And you're like, damn. But I look at stuff that focuses on that era, and I'm always fascinated at how Christmas was then. Now, here you and I are. It's the first day of December, and we're already talking about getting ready for Christmas, putting the tree up and stuff. And some of these movies like this one are set in the point in time where everything was done on Christmas Eve. It was business as normal, other than, Christmas season is coming. So you're gathering extra nuts and stuff, to have for Christmas, but everything's done on Christmas Eve. You go find the tree and you cut it down and you go kill the bird, and everybody's talking about their big Christmas party. And then we're going to sing songs and we'll trim the tree, and Mom's cooking this. And it's the only time of the year they had the stuff, could do without the supplies to make like a big apple pie, and how everybody's excited for it. It's hard for us these days. We overindulge on Christmas for so long every year. It's really hard to really appreciate it when the day actually arrives, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
So
commercialized and just so in your face.
Yeah.
And it just, was not that way back then.
No.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely going to check it out this year. Number 7 for me, Home Alone 2. I had to put the sequel in here because it's a must. We have to watch them back to back every year. And the second one is still so much fun, messing with the crooks in New York, and you're outside of the house for a while, and then he, gets into the his aunt and uncle's place, and he's running. He doesn't have a plan. Can I do the thinking? Just some classic moments in that one too. The sticky bandits, they do all that, and then you get the story with the toy store, and you get Tim Curry as the hotel concierge. It's just such a great sequel, almost as good as the first, in my opinion. But it took a lot of the elements that the first one had and brought it into the second one without being too like the first movie. It still had the elements of its own thing,
I only watched number 2 once.
You're kidding me.
No, I didn't think it was near as good as the first one.
Oh,
so gosh. I've always just stuck with watching the first one. Man, this is blasphemy for most people. I like number 3 better than number 2 with the little boy in the RC car.
I don't know about blasphemy. I definitely wouldn't put number 3. Home Alone 3 was in my honorable mentions. So I can watch that one. And it was just it was its own thing too. But Home Alone 2, you still get the elements of the crooks and Kevin and the nuances of his whole family and everything. And I don't know. I still like Home Alone 2.
Well, my number 7 is, and I just discovered this one a couple of years ago, but Christmas Comes to Willow Creek. Does that ring a bell to you?
I've heard it. I've never watched it.
It's the one that stars John Schneider and Tom Wopat, Bo and Luke Duke. After the Dukes of Hazzard run ended, CBS contracted them to do a Christmas movie together. Of course, they're playing different characters, but they're, instead of cousins like on the Dukes of Hazzard, they're brothers in this movie.
Okay.
And they're both truck drivers, go figure. And they're delivering all these supplies from California up to the town of Willow Creek in Alaska in time for Christmas. And they run into some troubles along the way and some family stuff. And I don't know, it's a fun movie just for me because it's got Bo and Luke Duke in it. And like for me to discover this was a thing just a few years ago, as soon as I somehow come across it online, and it just blew my mind, and I went to Amazon and bought it that day that I found out it was a thing. And we watched it. The kids liked it. I liked it. The wife likes it. Now it's in our rotation. It gets watched more years than not.
Yeah.
But it was a CBS original movie. Bo Duke is kind of a-hole, a bad guy in the movie.
Uh-huh.
And Tom Wopat's playing the good brother, but they've got some personal differences, and they're having to, the guy they both work for is making them take this trip together. Unbeknownst to them, he wants them to spend time together,
I got you. Okay.
And they've got that little thing between them, and Tom is a by the book guy, and John Schneider's character's freewheeler. Matter of fact, while Tom's character's taking a break in the sleeper for a few hours, John Schneider takes a detour off the path and goes to a casino. And Tom Wopat's got his son with him, and John Schneider's being a bad influence on him.
So it's kind of like Over the Top at Christmas, and they're brothers instead of father and son.
Yeah, and it's also, it's actually, you mix in a little bit of the greatest story ever told with that, because they meet this woman who's pregnant, and she goes into labor when they're stuck in a snowbank. And
oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's... the script may have been thrown together in around 24 hours, maybe. But it's like, hey, we signed these guys to do a Christmas movie. Let's write a Christmas movie. So.
It looks like it's on YouTube as well. I might be doing a back-to-back on those two.
Yeah, it was on YouTube. I looked at that earlier. So.
Oh, my.
Yeah, but that's my number 7. People, and I've got something coming up over at retroramblings.com. I still put something over there every once in a while, and I'm going to do a what was on TV the week of Christmas 1987, and as the year this movie come out. And in the TV guide, I found a full-page ad for it that I've scanned up, and
nice.
Actually, a lot of that ad can be seen in my Retro Ramblings column from yesterday that people can go check out. I talk about this movie a little bit there, too.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to definitely check that out now. All right, number 6 is Ernest Saves Christmas for me. Have to watch it every year. So many great scenes. He breaks out all of his classic characters in there, and it was probably the Santa Claus before the Santa Claus with the changing of the guard, so to speak. And I don't know. I just love it. The guy that plays Santa in that movie is the voice of the Sultan in Aladdin. If you've never put those, I did like facts on Ernest Saves Christmas several years ago for Rediscover the 80s. That was one of them. But I just love it. Bobby and his brother there.
Yeah.
And the reindeer on the ceiling, and the two elves, and so many classic lines that I just love to spout out, air brakes and nobody moves, nobody dies. And so many great lines of that movie. It was just fun. And being a huge Ernest fan, like I said, watching the Ernest Goes to Camp and Goes to Jail and all, being into all those movies, this was just natural. And once I started renting it, it was like an annual thing for me. If it wasn't on TV, I'm going out to get it at the rental store, and eventually got a VHS copy of it. So I have to watch it each year. It's so great. My favorite scene is probably my favorite character of him, the snake guy,
Yeah.
Is this where the horror movie folk be? I got a truckload of pythons. And Santa's in the back with the little rattle, Oh, I just love it. I love it.
And the guy who plays Santa Claus in that, he looks familiar from something else, but I'm not sure what it was, where I've seen him at before. But he's got that look about him,
He does. And the guy that plays the guy that's he wants Joe, whatever his name is, to take over the Santa position, his agent, you said you never watched Die Hard, but he's the same douchebag in the plane that tells him about to take his shoes off, and then there's that whole scene later where he's got to walk across the glass without his shoes.
Yeah.
The same guy. So that's the only the movies that I remember seeing him in, which is funny, but great stuff. Love Ernest Saves Christmas.
Well, let's see, where are we up to? Number 6?
6, yep.
Number 6 for me, A Very Brady Christmas. The story of the Brady Bunch at Christmas time.
Okay.
1988 CBS movie. It actually ended up being the second highest rated TV film of the year. It went on, it done so well, they created another series right after it. It only lasted like 6 episodes on CBS. But, you look at ratings now, the Nielsen ratings, and like a really good show will get 8 or a 9 rating.
Mm-hmm.
When this hit TV, when it debuted, it got a 25.1 rating that night for people to watch A Very Brady Christmas. So it was a big deal when it came on the air.
What year?
88.
So this was kind of like a Homecoming, kind of the same deal?
Yeah. This was their first, like they'd been off the air since 74.
Okay.
So it's like a reunion movie. It'd be like right now if Friends got back together to do a made-for-TV Christmas movie. I mean, it's kind of what it would be like. But the story of Mike and Carol, they're all grown up. Of course, all the kids are grown up and they're married and they're all having various marital problems, but they invite them all home for Christmas. And Alice comes back because what's-his-face has been cheating on her and left her. And so they're all there together and they celebrate Christmas in typical Brady fashion. Mike and Carol help all the kids work through their problems, and Mike gets trapped in an unsafe building collapse towards the end, and the Christmas miracle is. Have you not seen this? I don't want to spoil anything. No. Really?
No.
I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube.
Wait, Al the Butcher was cheating on Alice?
Yeah.
Or what is it?
Sam.
Al the Butcher? Sam.
Yeah.
Man, what the hell has the world gone to?
Exactly. Well, let's see, Jan and her husband were getting a divorce or getting separated, and they didn't want to tell Mike and Carol, so they showed up and tried to act happy. And Marcia's husband had lost his job, and Bobby had quit college and was being a race car driver, and they didn't know it because he didn't want them to worry. And yeah, and Sandy was flunking out of school and didn't want. It's a fun movie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube too. I'm gonna look it up here while I'm talking about it. Yeah, folks who've not seen it, it was on Amazon Prime.
I think I've seen it on Hulu, actually.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Well, that might be option.
I never got into the Brady Bunch enough, even reruns and all that back in the day. I know they played it all the time to watch even any of those. Or
unfortunately, this one is not on YouTube, but they did a follow-up movie called The Brady 500 after this, where Bobby embraces the whole family embraces Bobby's stock car career, but he gets in a crash. I think they based the movie Days of Thunder on it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'm
that's
kidding.
what Tom Cruise was thinking. Yeah.
No, Days of Thunder was based on the NASCAR guy Tim Richmond from the 80s. That's what that was based on. But anyway, so it's not on YouTube right now, but the Brady 500 is. But folks who've not seen it, you should check it out because it really was a lot of fun. There's some trailers for it on YouTube, though.
Okay. I might take your word for it on that one. I'm just not a big Brady fan.
Yeah, you get through the episode. Well, my fascination with the Bradys was I didn't have cable when this movie come on. So the only way I could watch the Brady Bunch was when I was traveling with the old man. We'd have to get a hotel room. Mm-hmm. They all had cable, and I'd come across, and I was just fascinated by all these shows I'd never seen or heard of on my local stations, and I was a big fan of it. And I remember when this movie come on, my mom and I, it was appointment television for us. We watched this in '88, A Very Brady Christmas. So it's been a part of my life for 21 years now, or 30. Oh God, it's been 31 years, hasn't it? Holy gosh.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Get those first digits wrong, man. Getting old. All right, let's get to the top 5, man. I can pretty much guarantee this one's not going to be on your list, but I saw it very early on, made-for-TV movie. I think it was 84 when it came out. The Night They Saved Christmas.
Nope, not on my list.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I connected with it when I was real young, and it stars Art Carney plays Santa Claus, and oh crap, what's her name? The Charlie's Angel there. Oh, it just left me. Wow.
You know what's funny? They replayed that in '87. I thought it sounded familiar when you said it because I seen an ad for it in this 1987 TV guide I was just talking about a minute ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing if it was one I plucked out to scan or not.
Jacqueline Smith is the mom in the movie, and I don't know, it just connected with me. They're these the dad is like this oil miner in, I think they're in close to the North Pole.
Jacqueline Smith, Art Carney, and Paul Williams.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're using dynamite, blasting for oil, and they're getting too close to the North Pole. And this elf comes in this like huge tank and takes them to the North Pole. The family and everybody but the dad. And the dad is like thinking the family's been kidnapped and all this stuff. And but just the family and just a little bit of the background of their, like, one kid has like Masters of the Universe bed sheets in the movie. Aww. And one of the big like hot toys or whatever that I just oohed and awed over was one of those robots that like had a radio in it and it would come up and talk to you and stuff. I remember looking through like Sears catalog and seeing those robots and just oohing, awing. They were like hundreds of dollars, and my parents would never say yes to something like that. But that was a main thing. And then the little boy at the end of the movie, they get that robot. It's like left on their doorstep. But it's connected with me when I was young, and I don't know, I've just loved it over the years, and I have a digital copy of it. And even finding a DVD, it was like buried in one of these ones where you got to like pay for 20 movies to get it, I don't think it ever had an official release, at least in the United States. But anyway, loved the movie.
From the TV Guide description in 1987, The Night They Saved Christmas says, special effects highlight this tale about efforts to save Santa and his North Pole toy factory from dynamiting oil prospectors.
Yes.
It's listed as a science fiction movie. So And it had some stiff competition. This is totally off subject here, but in the second hour of the movie, it was up against Golden Girls. And this just caught my eye. It says Blanche, Rose, and Dorothy each pose nude for a Hungarian sculptor. Then each wonders which one he'll use for his final work. Well, you know, people were switching over to that.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. Wow.
Oh, that's a good pick, though. Did you say if that one is on YouTube or not?
No, it used to be, and then I don't know. Last 2 or 3 years, I haven't been able to find it anywhere on any streaming services. Actually, last year, I take that back. They had it. You know, Hallmark does a special service like on Amazon. You got to pay an extra whatever $6 to get all the Hallmark stuff, and they did include it with that package. And I was like, man, I'm not into all those Hallmark movies, so I'm not gonna pay an extra fee on top of our Prime.
I don't see that one, but I see the absolutely horrible Dudley Moore Santa Claus the movie on there. Is that one you ever watched?
I've seen it once. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
it's horrible.
A few years ago. Horrible.
Let's talk about something that's not horrible. Number 5 for me is Home Alone. Maybe a little low. I'm sure it's low compared to your list because you got number 2 already on the list. But this was a story I started to tell earlier. I went to the theater to watch this, but the theater we used to go to, it had 2 theaters. And somehow my brother and I got crossed up, and instead of going into the theater to watch Home Alone, we went into the theater that was showing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it wasn't all bad, but it wasn't what we went to see.
Yeah.
But I do think Home Alone is a Christmas movie. I don't think it's in the gray area that I mentioned earlier, but I can see people's argument about it. It's a great kids comedy. It's got a lot of Christmassy stuff in it, the church choir, the nativity scene and such that he's hiding in.
Right.
Just a lot of fun. The kids, it's one that they like watching with us at Christmas each year. But this Home Alone is one that's always in the rotation year after year after year. We watch it every year.
Yep.
And I'm sure you're going to talk more about it later, so I'll save the rest of it until you get to it.
Yeah, it made a little bit higher on my list, but it's so great. John Hughes is the writer.
Well, so far, we've got through half of our movies, and we only have 2 alike so far.
Okay, I haven't been keeping track, so
yeah.
I don't think the next one I have on my list is going to be on yours either.
Okay.
So you might be right that we might even get half of our list.
I'm sure we get to the top couple; they'll be pretty similar.
All right, number 4 on my list, the only, I guess, what I would call modern one, and it's got a real shot at cracking even some of these other ones that I don't know. I enjoy it the more that I watch it. The Polar Express. We watched it in the theater when it came out, and I've watched it. We've had a copy of it ever since. It's just so good. Tom Hanks, you know, you on your Tom Hanks kick there on some of our other lists. Mm-hmm. And this one would rank up high on my list as far as like Tom Hanks movies, even though it's his digital self in there. But he plays several different characters in the movie. Have you ever seen Polar Express?
I have. You got time for a funny story about it?
Go ahead.
Well, it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time, but whatever year the DVD came out, I had some friends over. My wife had been talking about what she'd got me for Christmas, and I'm opening it in front of some friends, and I open up the Polar Express, and I was like, what the F is this? And she said, it's your favorite. I said, what are you talking about? And my friends, they're just starting to laugh, you know. And she said, you told me that was your favorite book as a kid. I'm like, who the hell are you talking about? Because I've never even heard of this. And my friends are losing it now. And my wife's getting mad. And we have this argument. She's like, you told me it was your favorite book as a kid, so I found you the movie. And I'm like, honey, I swear to God, I've never heard of this. I don't even know what the hell it is. And so that was a point of contention for a long time. And I still have that DVD.
And it's still unopened.
No. I being married no longer than I was at that time, I still knew better. It got opened and watched once, but I've never cracked it a second time.
Really?
Yeah, it's a point of contention between us now. So it's the Polar Express is just off by itself here in the house, and we don't talk about it in public anymore.
Steven Tyler's in it. Come on, man.
But see, to this day, she'll swear to you up and down that I told her that was my favorite book as a kid, and was it even a book before the movie come out? Hell, I don't even know.
It was, yeah.
Oh, well, she must have been talking to somebody else who told her it was their favorite book or something, because I'd never heard of it. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fun. It's set probably in the 50s or 60s. So it's kind of that era of A Christmas Story. I like the whole story and just the characters along the way. I remember I bought probably the PlayStation 2 game. And we played the Polar Express one Christmas after that had been released. And we had a lot of fun with that.
You told me it was your favorite Nintendo game from the 80s.
Right, yeah. Anyway, I love the Polar Express.
Now, my brother, a year or two, took his son down to North Carolina for the Polar Express train ride, where you actually put on your pajamas and do that whole thing.
There's one here, I believe, in Birmingham, and my sister-in-law is taking her kids up there, and they've done the whole thing, in your pajamas, and serve the hot chocolate and get a fun train ride.
All right, well, number 4 on my list is Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad in Jingle All the Way, 1996. I ain't gonna say I didn't care for it when it came out, but it's one that took me some time to appreciate. And as I had kids and such, I appreciated it even more, the things you will go through sometimes to find what they want for Christmas. And a lot of people say it was based on the craze of Tickle Me Elmo, but the movie was well in production before the Tickle Me Elmo thing happened, so that's not very accurate. I guess more accurately, it would have been based on years of previous stories of Cabbage Patch Kids and things like that. But searching for the Turbo Man doll and everything Arnold goes through, it's so fun. And it's all taking place on Christmas Eve, which makes it even better. Because I go out shopping on Christmas Eve myself. Actually, not so much shopping anymore. I like to go out and watch the angry crowds and such. So I usually leave one item, like a Christmas card for my parents or something, that I go pick up on the morning of Christmas Eve, just to give me an excuse to go out to the stores. But so I can sympathize or empathize with what Arnold was going through that day. And Sinbad played off of Arnold so well with his eccentric character, and they're trying to sabotage each other. And it's an entertaining comedy movie, but it really is a reflection of the dark side of humanity sometimes, that the nicest person in the world in that situation can just turn in a heartbeat and be the most evil SOB you want to encounter for 10 minutes.
It's true. Yeah, I've watched it several times. It's not one that we own, but my sister-in-law owns it, and when she's in town, she'll bring it, and there's years that we will watch it. And maybe that is part of it, that I just hate that whole that whole pressure of trying to find those toys and stuff, and just that whole part of human nature that it hasn't really connected with me enough to make a top 10 list. Yeah. But it is a fun movie, and I think Sinbad is the MVP of that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, him or Phil Hartman.
Well,
Phil Hartman as the neighbor is pretty good too.
Oh yeah. That was cast just great.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, number 3. I think we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, and I'm thinking this might be higher on your list, but I put A Christmas Story at number 3 on mine. You know, the staple, the 24-hour marathon, that's probably been going on for 20 years?
Yeah,
I think maybe the late 90s or maybe early 2000s is when TBS started doing that, or Turner. I don't know if it's been TBS all this time, but it's just a staple, man. On Christmas Eve, you get all the presents set out, and you sit down and watch. You pick it up wherever you come into, and I can watch it several times. Watch it throughout the day or on Christmas Day too. It's just such a fun movie and story. And again, it's that old-fashioned picture, that time of just a snapshot of time back then and what Christmas was like. And we can all relate to Ralphie, that one gift that we want. We don't care about anything else. We just want that one thing. And I did pull that on my oldest son one year. He wanted this was back when Xbox 360 came out. He wanted the Xbox 360 so bad. And I'm like, Jackson, it's like whatever it was at the time, $300. I said, I just don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off this year, buddy, And this was, I think this was after the whole, Santa had been revealed, and or maybe it wasn't. I think I said maybe Santa doesn't, have that in his budget or something. And I hid it behind one of the chairs in the living room, and made him open all those presents, and he just was kind of moping afterwards, sad. Oh, didn't get his Xbox 360. I was like, what's that over there? And pulled the whole routine, man, and he just loved it. I there's a video of that somewhere.
Oh man, we need that. We need to take all these videos, like your daughter screaming in the bathtub and some I've got, and make a TRN Christmas special or something.
Yeah, maybe we should. It's somewhere, but yeah, I pulled that whole routine, and it worked to a T. It's just such a great. My wife uses the. My mom didn't have a hot meal since 1942 or whatever she says. She uses that one so often, man. And yeah, there's just so many great lines in the movie. Can't say enough about it. Iconic.
It was based on Gene Shepard's original writing. In God We Trust, all others pay cash. He didn't write a whole book about a Christmas story. It was just, he mentioned a few Christmas stories throughout that book, and they pulled them and made that with it. Yeah, it is higher on my list, so I'll save the rest of my thoughts, and we'll hit them real quick when we get there.
Okay.
But I could guess what your number 2 and your number 1 is at this point, and I can guess the order they're in. So
yes.
My number 3 is probably your number 1, and that's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I'll let you do most of the talking on it because you're a bigger fan of it than I am. But that's one that when it came out, my family, my dad in particular, was a huge fan of Vacation and European Vacation. So this was a no-brainer. We didn't go to the theater to see it, but we seen it as soon as it hit the video stores. And it is one of the most quoted Christmas movies of all time, between everything that the lines that Clark has and all the lines that Cousin Eddie has, and even Todd and what's her face,
Margot,
they're even getting quoted now. I've even seen ugly Christmas sweaters that says, I don't know, Todd. So they're iconic in their own right. It was so well done. It was perfect in the vein of the Griswold family. It reminds a lot of people of their own dysfunctional families, maybe not as dysfunctional, but on a lesser level. We've all got families like that. We're all part of families like that. But I'll save the rest of the talk about it until you get to it on your list.
Shoot, I went through some of that on Thanksgiving this year. I can say that because my family doesn't listen to the show. But yeah. God, I'm going to save a lot for our podcast because we are going to review it in the drive-in next week. If you haven't listened to our other drive-in, we did tease that, but it's one that just has gained legs over the years. And I haven't pulled all the stats together yet, but it wasn't like it did gangbusters and was hugely popular at the time. And the lack of, I don't know, like availability, or I don't know what it was, like availability of like merchandise, where I believe like a whole website was set up to just offer like moose mugs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was just such a market for that. And then just over the years, it's everywhere now. And it's such a part of, I don't know, everyone's Christmas that it's probably gotten more popular each year. And yeah, it's a little bit higher on my list. I'm going to see it in the theater for the first time this week. I cannot wait. It's to the part where I don't know unless you've seen it like 50 times like I have, or 100 times. I don't know how many times I've seen it. And you can quote along with the movie. You don't want to watch it with me because I'm quoting it the entire way. It's just so ingrained in my mind. But just talking about the Vacation series, I remember watching probably the first Vacation movie on cable or something. It wasn't until, I don't know, probably early 2000s maybe, where I watched like the first time I watched the theatrical version of the original Vacation and got the full R rating. And then right after that, I had never watched European Vacation, and I've watched that probably twice, and that was probably enough for me.
Yeah.
So the third one is just, I don't know, above and beyond that. And there is some language in there, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to watch it with the kids if you got kids at home. But at the same time, they know I love it so much that it's hard to not put it on and then just skip past a couple parts here and there, you know. Clark's rant and the pool scene and, you know, some other little things like that I have to skip past. This year, last year is the first time I heard of this, but there's a town just north of us that they decorate their house pretty much like the Griswold house, like lights everywhere. And they pretty much have a party every night, like throughout the weeknights and even on the weekends. They set up props in the yard. They all dress like the characters, and they just hang out, and people come and take pictures. And I mean, it's like a pop-up Christmas Vacation Griswold house.
Well, that's cool.
It's so great. And I'm planning on going to that this year. I didn't get a chance to last year to see what that's all about. But, and like I said, I've never seen it in the theater, so I'm just excited for that experience as well. It's so great. Go ahead and finish out the rest of my list. 'Cause
Number 2 on Jason's list is going to be Home Alone.
That's right. And Vacation
will be number 1.
Yeah. Number 1 is Christmas Vacation. I think I got yours too. But just to quickly touch on Home Alone, that was probably the last movie I remember watching in the theater with my dad. He was just not a movie goer by any means. And I just can't remember how that all happened. I'm thinking it was because that was about the time my parents divorced and just wanting to spend time together, and we just Home Alone and had such a great time with it. And it's just one of those, I don't know, it's just associated right below Christmas Vacation each year. It's a must watch. I have to watch it. And it's usually the second and third one in consecutive order. And sometimes we'll circle back around and watch the first one again. But the lines in the movie, my kids quote that, just love everything about Home Alone. And I do believe, I remember watching Siskel and Ebert talk about it back in the day, and Ebert loved that whole scene with the Shovel Slayer and him in the church, you know, and how they kind of patch things up. And it is, and they have that a little bit in part 2 with the pigeon lady, but I don't know, that whole dynamic of it was fun, you know, making amends with your neighbor and then seeing his story at the end of his reuniting with his son, waving in the window. There's some really heartwarming parts in it. And there's just so much like hilarity behind all of the traps and all the interaction with the two robbers. It's so great. I had the board game. I think I still have the board game somewhere. I had it back in the day. So yeah, my love of Home Alone is extended way beyond that.
I still like to think of that guy as the Shovel Slayer versus the kind, friendly old grandpa. I think they could have spun off a whole another series of Halloween movies featuring him. That would have been all right.
Yeah,
you know that look to him.
I've seen trailers cut to make Christmas Vacation into a horror movie. You know, when he's got the hockey mask and the chainsaw, they could definitely do that with Home Alone and that guy. You know, with the shovel.
Well, that guy, he was in Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood back in the 70s. He was the guy that got mad at the prison warden and purposely chopped his own fingers off with a hatchet in the wood shop. So he's got the acting chops to pull off a deranged killer psychopath.
All right, I'm going to guess the rest of your list. I'm guessing number 2 is It's a Wonderful Life, and number 1 is A Christmas Story. Oh, I got them backwards?
You got them backwards. Actually, I got them wrote down here as 1A and 1B because I can't pick between the two of them. But I'll start with A Christmas Story. To just add to what you said, that marathon actually started in 1997. It's been a yearly thing ever since then.
Wow.
I discovered that movie, I think we've talked about this on here before I moved and before I had cable. It was being replayed on some show because, it came out in 83. So sometime around 87 or so, I found it on our local Fox affiliate one afternoon and watched it. And I'm telling people about it, how good it is. And nobody knows what I'm talking about, because what people today would have a hard time believing is the movie was not really popular until the late 90s for one reason or another. But I found it, and then when we moved and I got cable and found it on somewhere, we made a VHS recording, and that's also where I discovered the sequel to it, Ollie Hop Noodles, Haven of Bliss, that teenage Ralphie and Flick getting jobs at the furniture store. And then years after that, they come out with My Summer Story, about young Ralphie when the family went to the World's Fair and he got the top, and because his buddies all had battling tops. But that's neither here nor there. Much like we talked about some of the other movies, The Homecoming, it's set in a period of time that I just sit and look at and wonder. Everything about the 40s and 50s fascinates me, and this movie is set right in the heart of that, back when department stores were still the center of all things in town and had the big Christmas displays they'd unveil every year. And you'd go to, and that's where you got to see Santa. And it's just everything about it. The troubles at school that he has, and the big snowfalls they have featured in the movie.
Yeah.
It's just all magical. And most people, I'd say, watch it on Christmas Eve. We turn it on Christmas Eve. Of course, we don't have TBS, so I put the DVD in and put it on repeat, so we have our own marathon. But earlier in the month of December, I make a point to actually sit and watch the movie. And then when we're replaying it, it's just going on in the background the whole time. But I actually like to sit and watch it every year. So it's just great. One of the iconic Christmas movies. It's been made that way with the marathon and everything that's come since then. But it's still one of the movies that most people look to.
Absolutely. Yeah, last couple of years we've spent Christmas in Florida with my in-laws, so they have cable. So it's usually the last thing that I'll watch while I'm waiting for everybody to get to bed and turn off their screens. I'll just leave it on, watch it, and that's the last thing I watch before we wake up on Christmas morning. So, yeah, it's such a great... I didn't even knew it had a sequel until a couple years ago. But you're telling me it's got 2 sequels?
Well, see, it's kind of convoluted.
Or like a spin-off.
They may, yes and no. There is an actual Christmas Story 2 sequel that came out a few years ago. Mm-hmm. I've not dipped my toes in that water yet, but A Christmas Story came out in 83. In 88, Ollie Hop Noodles Haven of Bliss came out, which is before Christmas Story ever got popular. And it's actually based on another short story by Gene Shepard, but it features the same characters. Okay. So call it a sequel or a spinoff, however you want to. That's what it is. It was a co-production of the Disney Channel and PBS. So it aired. Does it
have the whole family or just Ralphie?
No, it has the whole family, because they take a trip, like a family vacation, and they stay at some camp somewhere. But also, like I said, Ralphie and those guys, Flick and Schwartz, they're teenagers now, and they're getting a job. They get a job at a furniture place, moving furniture and stuff. So they're a little older and they're doing things. But then out came My Summer Story. I'm not sure what year it came. I'm going to have to look it up, which goes back to when Ralphie is a kid again. Okay, it comes out in 1994. And it's actually considered a sequel to A Christmas Story. But they're kids again. They go to the World's Fair. Ralphie gets a top, and he's battling his buddy with this massive top thing. Like, it's funny. But, so yeah, there's all those movies that have the same characters in them, and A Christmas Story started that, but it's still 1,000 heads and shoulders above the other movies.
Right.
And I'm just fascinated by that whole time frame, though. That's what draws me in. That's what keeps me going back for more.
seems kind of funny that they said the F word back then too, you know. He said the F dash dash dash. You know, you don't think, I mean, it's probably been around since the dawn of time.
All cuss words.
Right. But I don't know. It's so used more often in movies and everything else nowadays that you don't think about it being a thing back then.
That a lot of people haven't picked up on is the scenes where his mom is on the telephone. If you pay attention, you can pick up what's being said on the other end of the phone. Have you ever noticed that? When she calls and says, "Do you know what your son said?" And she tells me, "Do you know where he heard it?" And you can hear the other lady say, "Probably from his father."
Right. Yeah.
No, he heard it from your son.
Yeah. Yeah. So great. All right. Well, I'm going to save most of my vacation talk for our next podcast. So let's hear what you got to say about It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, just like these other movies we've talked about, it's the time period. And I didn't watch It's a Wonderful Life. You know, growing up, it's a black and white movie. And you was talking about it being on NBC every year, and it was in the 90s and such. And I was like, hey, hell, nothing to do with that. I probably didn't see it the first time until about 7 or 8 years ago. And instantly it shot to the top of my list. And bless my wife's heart, her and her DVDs. I loved it. So she went and bought it for me on DVD. But she bought me the colorized version. I'm like, what in the heck? What? So I had to go back and buy the black and white version. I don't even know what happened to that color version, because this is a movie that certainly needs to be seen in black and white. And it's another one of those movies that it's considered a Christmas movie, but only the last 10 minutes of it are at Christmas. Right. The rest of the movies, you know, throughout his life. But just that whole time frame of the Great Depression, and Jimmy Stewart in it's great, and Donna Reed is great. I don't know. I instantly fell in love with it first time I saw it, and it is a must watch every year. And it's one of the ones that I will actually, you know, when I'm home on a weekend and we're like, let's watch some Christmas movie. Okay, what do you want to watch? And we'll pick something. This is one that I actually plan. It's like, honey, next Sunday night at 8:00, we're watching It's a Wonderful Life. You know, build the rest of the week around that. Whatever you have to do to clear that from our schedule, we're watching that next week, you know, which I need to put it on the schedule for this year somewhere. I don't know how that's going to happen, but it's got to. There's no question about it. So, yeah, it's 1A on my list. It and A Christmas Story, you could put either one ahead of the other and I wouldn't argue. But
okay. I don't think I've ever watched It's a Wonderful Life, not on TV, not on like network TV, because they extend it too. I mean, the thing is long. It's like 3 hours long or something, isn't it?
It's a little
it's
over
on
2
TV
hours.
At least. Okay. Well, it seems like I mean, maybe it's 2.5 hours or something, but that was one thing that kind of turned me off too, because my family would put it on or something. I'm like, it's black and white and it's so freaking long. I'm like, ugh. I'm going to be falling asleep here, you know, Christmas Eve watching it. And then it wasn't until later on that I started appreciating it more when you go back. And I had this whole period in the probably early 2000s when we started renting or getting DVDs in the mail from Netflix when when that was still a thing. I guess it is still a thing, but we started, you know, going back and watching like old World War II movies and getting back into that era. And when that came on one of those years, It's a Wonderful Life, I appreciated it a lot more for, you know, for what it was. And I haven't gone back to watch a lot of those classic films back in the day, Citizen Kane and all those that were, you know, were top of their industry back in the 50s and such. And what year did It's a Wonderful Life come out? That was what,
1946.
Wow. Okay. So it's a little bit before that, but, yeah, there's just a point in your life where it seems like you appreciate that time a little bit more and the history of our country and all that. And that's when that movie connected with me a lot more than it did just as a kid, you know. And it's funny, you know, seeing like Christmas Vacation and they're watching that movie in that movie, you know.
Yeah.
So that was a tradition. That was probably one of the earliest traditions like that of having a movie on Christmas Eve each year,
But you talk about your family watching it on Christmas Eve. I'm not a Christmas Eve movie watcher because we're always swamped over with the family Christmas party anyway, but I watch Christmas movies and stuff to enhance the Christmas spirit leading up to Christmas. Once we get to Christmas Eve, it's too late to be watching Christmas stuff for me. It's like, okay, it's here. It's an all day and night affair. You don't have time for one thing, but this year, like I love when I've got a few days off before Christmas because I'll just overload on it. Sitting around during the day, I'll watch the Saved by the Bell Christmas episodes and stuff, midday and come on kids, let's go do something now. But yeah, for me, I got to get my Christmas watching in before Christmas Eve.
All right, man. Well, I guess that's our list. Did you have any other honorable mentions you want to throw out?
Well, another modern one, from 2015 movie called The Night Before with Seth Rogen. Him and his buddies always have a party on Christmas Eve, but now they're going their separate ways, and it's their last ones. It's the last year they're going to do it, and they decide to make it the wildest night they've had on Christmas Eve before. It's funny, it's raunchy, but it's funny. And another modern one from 2008, the Vince Vaughn movie Four Christmases. I thought that was pretty funny too.
Haven't seen either of those.
Well, Four Christmases is great because Vince Vaughn's parents are divorced and his fiance's parents are both divorced, and they usually like to escape and go to an island somewhere or somewhere sunny for Christmas, but they get snowed in, and so their parents all expect them to stop by for Christmas, so they have 4 different houses to visit. And it's funny because they're each had tortured childhoods from their parents. Like Vince Vaughn's dad is played by Robert Duvall as a redneck, and his brother is Tim McGraw as the supreme redneck. His wife is making Spam casserole for Christmas dinner, if that tells you anything. It's funny. It's worth watching. And his mom, they go to see his mom, and she's now married to a guy that Vince Vaughn graduated high school with. One of his friends had a thing for his mom years ago. So that's a weird situation for him to go into. But it's pretty fun. What about you?
I had just 2 more. I already said I had Home Alone 3 on there. Another one I've appreciated more, mainly just because it's probably my wife's favorite Christmas movie, and that's White Christmas. I will sit through that. It's gotten less painful over the years, I'll say. Again, just that era and the story. And again, I'm not big into musicals, but it's a little more entertaining than it was when she was first trying to get me to watch it. We'll put it that way. And it's a classic for a lot of people.
I tried to watch Holiday Inn last year, that musical from the same era. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, it's not gonna push me to watch Holiday Inn or any of those other ones, musicals mainly from that era. But I will watch that with the wife. And then another one of hers that I've grown to love too is Prancer, and that's just a fun story with the little girl and Mr. Mustache there, Sam Elliott. And it's one of those kind of movies too. He's kind of down on his luck, and just love the whole little small town atmosphere that movie portrays.
And that movie's picking up steam in recent years too.
It has. It's on Disney Plus now.
It'll be one of those movies that's maybe not get as big as A Christmas Story, but year after year it gets more and more play, and more people discover it, get into it, and like it. So that movie's on the rise after 30 years.
Yeah. That's all I had for my my honorable mentions. It's funny, some of the other movies that people just go crazy for. You think of like Elf. Trying to think of some other ones that just
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah, they missed our lists altogether.
Yep. But I was right. We had 5 just alike, and the rest were all unique.
Well, there you go. I'll trust you from now on then on predictions, Mr.
I'm pretty good at handicapping stuff here, my friend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I should know better by now. All right, well, we're anxious to hear your lists too, and we didn't get any feedback in time for the recording of the show, but if you want to leave us your top 10, we'll go through them next week. Why not? But we're going to wrap things up there. Come on back and hear what's coming up on the Retro Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight marks an historic, not to say unique, moment in the history of both television and cinema. After a search of nearly 40 years, the fabled lost ending to Frank Capra's 1947 film, It's a Wonderful Life, has been found. Tonight, for the first time anywhere, Saturday Night Live is proud to present this priceless footage, the fully realized vision of an authentic American genius. So without further ado, here is the lost ending of It's a Wonderful Life.
They've been coming all evening. They didn't ask any questions. All they said was if George Bailey needs help, we're here to help him.
Oh, well, Mary, I never realized I had so many friends. And a man who has a friend is a rich man. That's what Clarence said. By golly, he was right.
We wouldn't have a roof over our head if it wasn't for you, George.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
Pardon me.
Oh, Harry.
Hello,
Harry.
George. How are
Welcome
you?
home, Harry.
Merry Christmas, George. Now, wait a minute, everybody. I've got a telegram here I want to read. From London. Dear George, stop. Mr. Gower cables, you need cash. Stop. My office instructed to advance you up to $8,000. Stop. Hee-haw and Merry Christmas, Sam Wainwright!
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Quiet, everyone! I remembered what I did with the money, the $8,000.
Well, that's great, Uncle Billy. Well, what'd you do with it?
I was in the bank. I had it in a newspaper. I remember giving it to someone.
Well, who'd you give it to?
No, wait. Now, I just called Clarence at the bank. He told me that old man Potter deposited exactly $8,000 right after I left. It was him!
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go get it!
You stay where you are, George Bailey. You're in enough trouble already.
You made one mistake, Mr. Potter. You double-crossed me and you left me alive.
Now, wait just a second. I'll give you the money back.
I don't want the money. I want a piece of you, Potter. I want a pound of you. Around you and your money. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter. And the whole bad configuration of things, you're nothing but a scurvy little spider. Why, you're nothing but a fraud. You're not even a cripple.
Now, wait a second. I can explain that.
Harry, Mary, hold him for me. That's it. I'm I'm not through with you, Potter. Harry, Mary, have a piece of this. You didn't know it.
All right, we're back to wrap things up here on the Retro Network podcast, and going to tell you about some stuff coming up.
We talking about these Christmas movies. We got a fun feature coming up from Jeff. He's looking back at the Christmas Vacation for its 30th anniversary. Because as we're recording this, we're just a day or so from its 30th anniversary of its release. It was right around there somewhere.
Yep.
We got some more Christmas stuff coming up on the Retro Network this week too. Over on the main site proper, I hit quite a few Christmas themes in my Retro Ramblings column that went up yesterday. And Adam this week too. I forgot. He's got a big feature on the 10 best cartoons of the 80s. And much like he did the 10 Halloween movies for everyone. He broke each one down into a category and gave you the best to fit that category, like for young kids or for preteens, or, you know, if you're into action or if you're into fantasy. So well worth checking that out this week too. And we'll have a few other things sprinkled in here and there as the week goes on.
Okay. Did want to mention coming up Thursday, December 5th, we're going to release our roundtable review podcast on Cobra Kai. I'm putting that together right now. That was a really fun time, Mick, talking about that show. So we're going to give you that little bonus this week. And then coming up on Friday, we're going to hear from the Sequel Quest gang on a Die Hard reboot. That'll be for this Friday. A week from that Friday on the 13th, they're going to talk a Home Alone reboot. On the 20th, you're going to get Elf 2, which was going to be a brand new show. And then to wrap things up, Polar Express 2 on the 27th.
Oh, boy.
They are going to give us a special episode. You know, we got Star Wars coming up, Mick. The episode 9 is coming out, I believe, on the 20th, whatever. That's a Wednesday, that Friday. On the 18th, Monday, they're going to release a special Star Wars episode that is a flashback episode on a Star Wars spin-offs, basically. So we're going to hit you up with some Star Wars content that week in preparation for release of the Rise of Skywalker. So be looking for that from the Sequel Quest gang in December. And we got some feedback. We got some pretty good feedback this week, Mick. Several different items. The first one we'll just talk about was from the drive-in episode on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Bridget Prestwick at bprestwick7 on Twitter. I listened to your first drive-in edition of the podcast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I did think of something when you were talking about a reboot or remake. They kind of did that already, though. It was Dutch. So, yeah. I mean, we talked about that. It was in that same vein. And I think Dutch was maybe 89, I want to say, or 90.
Somewhere, yeah. Right there in that time frame.
So, a few years after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So, that worked pretty good. And then our buddy Adam had a small little confession that he hadn't watched the movie, and it motivated him to go ahead and watch it once we started teasing that we were going to do that podcast. He said, quote, most of my childhood John Candy exposure centers on Home Alone and the Camp Candy cartoon. I do remember that. I did watch that. I've also recently caught up with Uncle Buck, The Great Outdoors, and Who's Harry Crumb. Surprisingly, I did rent Canadian Bacon and Wagons East in the 90s. So,
well, he started at the wrong end of the list.
I guess so. Yeah, that was a little backwards there. But
hey, Adam, if you hadn't seen Armed and Dangerous, make it your next one after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, please. Yes, please.
Him and Eugene Levy together is magic on screen.
When they had visited that adult store.
Yeah.
They come out in those costumes. Oh my gosh. So great. I love that movie. Oh, and the trucker.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how fast
Come on in here, Slim.
Let's see how fast this son of a go. He's got that 50 caliber pistol.
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh, it's been a while since I watched that.
Hey, Adam, it's got Zeus in it. You'll like it. Go watch it.
Yes. All right. On the website, Tony from Retro Days, our buddy there, he said about the movie, it's funny that certain things stick out to different people in films. The most memorable scene and character for me was Gus's son.
Yeah.
His whole demeanor and speech cracked me up. And I reference his snort often throughout the year because somebody I know well, who will remain nameless, let's just say this person has a ring that matches mine, has a little snort noise that happens when clearing their nasal passages. So when I hear that, I instantly say, "You're the shower curtain ring fella?"
Man, I wonder if he talks about her too. Like her first young'un come out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing.
Oh, great comment, Tony. Thanks for leaving that. Then we had some feedback on your retro ramblings about the McPasta. LBD Night Train off the website says, "Hey now, I love the Arch Deluxe. It was my go-to burger when it was on the menu, and I wish they would bring back the sauce, if nothing else about it."
That's what was bad about it.
Just put on a quarter pounder and I'm good. Never had the pleasure of trying McPasta though, and that saddens me today as I've only become a bigger fan of pasta with time. As for Pizza Hut, I mean, and then he linked to your Glory Days article after that.
That sauce that he's talking about is what made it nasty. It was a horseradish mustard stuff. It was horrible. The rest of the burger was fine.
I don't remember the sauce on the Arch Deluxe. Also a comment from the same person there on the when Thanksgiving parades don't go as planned. That was a fun article. He said, you think they'd balloon-proof the street lamps along the route, among other things.
Yep.
Very true. I don't know. Sometimes you get those novices. Here, you want to hold this string on this balloon?
No, actually, they screen all those people these days.
Do they do it?
Yeah, you have to be a physically fit person to even qualify for that now.
Wow. Okay. Well,
maybe they did back in the day.
Had a comment on Kevin's Dogma 20th anniversary article. Tim from Old School 80s, our friend there, who sometimes gets some columns from him. He said, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan, and Dogma is one of my favorite non-80s movies. Are you saying you believe? No, but I have a good idea. I'm guessing that's a quote from the movie. I actually never watched it.
Yep. I enjoyed the movie for what it was. Within the movie, it had a lot of funny parts in it, and it's like an ensemble cast. It's got a ton of great people in it.
A few more. I put an article up there. I think it dropped on Thanksgiving Day on the Thanksgiving in the Land of Oz special, which I had never watched before. Noel Thingval at Noel CT on Twitter says, wow, I was a huge into the 80s Oz animated series, but never saw this one. Yeah, so I guess I'm not the only one that missed that the first time around. And I think that came out in 1980. It was interesting. I don't know. I've always loved The Wizard of Oz, and like I said, that was one of those movies that it seems to be still a kind of appointment television, but all those other little spin-off series and cartoons and stuff, I've never watched.
Yeah.
Little comment on your Wax Pack flashback number 3. Ken Spalding over on Facebook. Love these openings. Brings back a lot of memories.
You and me too, buddy.
I must admit, I haven't watched your basketball one yet, but that was the era when I was collecting pretty much every sports card in the early 90s.
Yeah, I was too. And since NBA's in full swing right now and the season just got started and it was Thanksgiving, I actually opened 3 different packs on that video. Some 89 hoops and 92 or 93 or 91 Upper Deck and something else I opened. Skybox. Yeah, 91 Skybox.
A couple more history of hypercolor clothing that you put on Patreon. Karen Fleeger said, I had one of these. It was so much fun to wear it in the summer and see how quickly it changed color. She gave us a little laugh face on that one. Yeah, I found one. I don't know. Maybe it was like a promotional thing or something. I might have had a company send me one several years ago. I had never owned them back in the day. But they were very interesting, especially in the South in the 100-degree summers that we have. Changes pretty quickly. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, you certainly didn't want your date wearing one, because you take her home. Boy, her old man saw where all the handprints were on that shirt. You was in some trouble.
I nearly did a spit take there.
You got to the point it got so bad you just had to have them take it off altogether, so you didn't leave evidence anywhere.
Oh gosh. And then just lastly here, I've been working on some new branding stuff for us, the new logo design, and we're just trying to mess around with some stuff, get a little bit of a footprint, I guess you'll say, more than just text, and put up there, see what everybody thought of that. Got several positive comments on the new TRN logo. So thanks for that. Glad I'm in the right direction here, and you'll be seeing more of it. Our little radio antenna, like an old network.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was fitting. But any other comments you have as far as the show today, your Christmas lists? You can find us at TRN Social and at RD80s and at Yesterdayville for my personal account and Mick's personal account for you to follow. So please connect with us. And next week, man, I'm looking forward to this so much. I'm going to be watching the movie in the theater, and I'm going to do a deep dive, get all of the fun little stats and everything about Christmas Vacation in our next drive-in here next week. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it too. I guess that's what I've got to watch this week then. I got to put it in already in the rotation. Of course, I've seen it so many times, you know.
Yeah, right. Just head on over to my Facebook account and you can get all the quotes you want, because I'm in full Grosswald mode over there on Facebook now once Thanksgiving hits. And I don't know. It's almost expected now. I've done it so many times, so many years in a row. I just dedicate my whole account to Christmas Vacation. Anyway, that's going to be fun. And again, thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Network Podcast channel. Make sure you listen to all of the great podcasts we have to offer right here in this feed. If you enjoy our channel, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on social media by following TRN Social, and visit the retronetwork.com website for your daily retro fix. Come back next week for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast.